Welcome to another edition of the Noles Podcast. I am your host, Gregory McCoy. This podcast is by a fan for fans. I am not a journalist. I am not a reporter. I am not an insider. I do not work for a website. The majority of my content comes from me and my opinion. Other information comes from the internet. Today is November 26, 2021. No segments for this episode. More Florida State football stuff. Listen, they handled business against UMass. And I felt like it was a very important game from a focus standpoint. And with the exception of the opening kickoff, I think this team was 99.9% locked in on this game, and thus you got the score that we got. Now is, can you carry that focus over? Can you carry that sense of urgency over into the Clemson game? Because I guarantee you, if Dabo Swinney is not going to have his team ready to play any more games, I'm willing to bet my life that he's going to have his team ready to play Florida State and South Carolina. Okay, and these players for Clemson are going to go all out to play against Florida State. They're not going to lose a 31-game home winning streak to Florida State. And Brent Venables, one of the best, if not the best, defensive coordinators in the country. I can pretty much guarantee you he's gonna say, Jordan Travis, you're gonna beat me with your arm, not your legs. He's gonna put 8 in the box. He's gonna do all kinds of stuff to confuse this young quarterback. And I realize he's a redshirt sophomore, but he's really a junior in terms of school. But he hasn't had that many career starts in his career. And so it's going to be really interesting to see what the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator for Florida State come up with this week. I think defensively, Fuller, this is probably going to be one of your easier games because pretty much every team that Clemson has faced, with an exception here and there, they've struggled offensively. So whoever's the quarterback is going to be for Clemson, if they just come out and light you up, I mean, that's just going to speak to the defensive coordinator. I just think if you have any kind of defensive, preparation and just aptitude as a defensive coordinator, Clemson shouldn't put up more than 13 to 17 points on you because they're very inept on offense. I mean, the only players that really scare me on what player is Ngata, number 10, if I'm saying his name right, and I apologize if I'm saying it wrong. He's the only player that really scares me on offense. He didn't play last week. I think he was resting up to play in this game, so I expect to see him. And just defensively, I don't think we got anybody that can block Xavier Thomas. I don't think Breesy is going to play, and I might have said his name wrong. I apologize. I don't think he's going to play. Then you've got probably 2 of the best linebackers in the country, and I don't even know their names, number 47 and number 10. So it's going to be tough sledding for the offense, for the Florida State offense. I don't think you're just going to be able to line up and run the ball. I think you're just going to have to get creative with the run game. So I don't know if you do some wildcat. I don't know. But you're going to have to get more creative than what you did against UMass in your last 2 wins. And I believe they can do it. I think they can win this game. I think it's going to be a close game because of the offense is not really being that good. I think out of the quarterbacks, I think Jordan Travis is probably the better of the quarterbacks because of his running ability. Maybe DJ let me say his name right. Yui Ongalele. And I probably said it wrong again. I apologize for that. But he's probably the better thrower by just the slimmest of margins. And I don't know if the other kid is going to play. Because he actually came in there and made plays. I can't pronounce his name either. So, when DJ got benched. So, it's just going to be interesting to see. What this game means to Florida State. It means every game here on out means a lot, I think. But if you can go into Clemson and end their 31 game winning streak at home, if you can do that, I just think that would be such a lift in terms of recruiting. And I'm not one of these guys that follows these 18-year-old kids around on social media and blah blah blah. You know, I just say nobody's ever committed until they're on campus. They've signed the paperwork and they're on campus, enrolled in classes. Nobody's ever committed. So, you know, the decommits that we had, I'm not surprised. I'm not. It's just that happens in college football. So, and Florida State really can't be mad that, you know, players are decommitting. But just to circle back to my point, I think if we can beat Clemson and end that 31 game home winning streak, I think that would be a tremendous, you know, uplift for recruiting. Not to mention the program. I just think we haven't beat Clemson since 2015, and we haven't beat them in Clemson since 2013. And you know, I don't really get into historicals, but we pretty much own Clemson until these last 6-7 years. They've dominated. I mean, but Clemson has, you know, rode the wave of Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. I mean, that's like 6-7 years right there. And, you know, you knew at some point it was going to be a drop-off because you depended too much on those guys to make plays. But I just, you know, some places have Clemson as like a 85% favorite. I don't see that. I think this, if anything, is a 50-50 split on this game. I don't, come on. But it just depends on which Florida State team shows up. And Dillingham and Fuller, how are they going to scheme it up? We don't have the quarterback to say, go win the game. 1, 2, 3, hike, win the game. You're going to have to scheme it up. Like in the North Carolina game, you did a tremendous job offensively. Defensively was okay. You still gave up 25 points. And Sam Howell is definitely better than number 5, Yui Ongalele. He's better than him. So I just think if you can get up early on this team, I mean, you got a chance to run them out the building. I mean, you got a chance to make them quit. I don't think it happens. I don't think Dabo Swinney lets that happen. But I would think it would be such a shock if we could get up 14, 17, 3 in the first quarter. It could happen. Like I said earlier, I think Brent Venables is going to put 8 in the box. He's going to dare Jordan Travis to throw the ball. And he's just going to come up with some exotic stuff. The 2 linebackers scare me. Xavier Thomas scares me. And that's pretty much it. Malik McClain has got to grow up this game. He really has to grow up and make plays this game. Corbin is going to have to be an X factor. Trayshawn Ward is going to have to be an X factor. Like I said, I could see some Wildcat. I really could see some Wildcat out there. I wouldn't mind seeing a flea flicker. I mean, you're going to have to do some out of the ordinary stuff because Brent Venables is very good at what he does. And he's going to scheme it up. And so, you know, if I'm Dillingham, I go play action pass the first play of the game just to see, you know, are they really going to bite on the run? I really, and if you put 8 in the box, you have to play cover 3 behind it. And, I mean, we got some fast players. So I don't know, man. I'm definitely picking Florida State to win this game. I think it's going to be a very close game. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game. I think it's going to be like a 17-13 type game. I think the kickers are going to be in play in this game. Our defense is not great, but I think they're good enough to stop this offense. Their running game doesn't scare me. The only player that really scares me is Ngata. Justin Ross hasn't been Justin Ross, but I think he's good enough. I don't think any of our DBs can cover him. I mean, they've just been riding the wave these last couple games, but I hope they go out there and dominate. I'm definitely not pulling against them, but you know, on this podcast, I just like to keep it real. I'm not going to sit here and go into a false sense of security and think that, you know, Brownlee and those guys are just going to come out and dominate. It's going to be a hard fought game. And, you know, some turnovers would go a long way to securing the victory. Special teams, like I said, the kickers, the return game. I just think you got to get Travis J off of there, man. I don't know if you put Corey Wren back there. Number 6 is his name escapes me at the moment. I'm not real good with names on this podcast, but I mean, you got to put a guy back there that knows what he's doing. And you know, I just feel like any type of turnover is gonna cost us. I guess the plan offensively for Clemson is just don't lose the game, because they really don't have the explosiveness. But I think they're definitely gonna test you deep. They're looking at that Louisville tape, and they're saying, okay, our quarterbacks can run. They're looking at that Syracuse tape. They're saying our quarterbacks can run too. And the bugaboo for this Florida State defense is running quarterbacks. I mean, Sam Howell lit you up for 100 yards. So I think that's definitely going to be a bugaboo for this defense, is a running quarterback. But I predict Florida State is going to win this game 20-13. Jordan Travis, 150 passing, 150 running. Corbin and Ward go for at least another 100+ yards together. The defense is solid. I think they give up some big passing plays, but ultimately they hang in there long enough not to lose the game. And again, this game would just be tremendous. It would be tremendous in terms of lifting us back to where we used to be, where we want to be, where we desire to be. And, you know, one of my favorite relatives is a Clemson fan. So, I'm just hoping we win. I hope he listening to this podcast. Florida State going to win this game. And I'm going to finally get bragging rights back. So, thank you to everybody that listens. I appreciate the support. I don't do this to try to be famous. I do this it's a hobby. And it's available. This podcast is available on all podcast platforms. It's available on YouTube. Do your research on everything, man. Don't let nobody influence you to do nothing. You know, do your own research. Make an informed decision about your health, about everything. And hopefully this weekend we come out with the win. And as always, go Noles.